Hello, 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 and welcome to the Dear Diary podcast. I'm your host, Katie, and guys, we are on episode 4. Episode 4. When I tell you, I'm just so excited for this consistency that I've been growing and just staying on top of it, and all the feedback that I've gotten from you guys, all the takeaways, all of the reflection. Like, you guys have been really making my heart melt in so many ways, and I appreciate you guys so much. And with this topic, I always talk about vulnerability and, that is so much power in it. And I want to dive into this topic because this has really made me who I am today. And a lot of it comes from the fact that, this is really a big part of my trauma. So I just really wanted to show you guys my story and just show you how it impacted me and talking about how, going through this and what it can look like for other people. And I'm just hoping that you guys just hear me out and, let me vent for a couple minutes or two. This topic is called Motherless Child. And if you know me, then you know that I love my mother dearly. I loved her down. And unfortunately, I only had her physically here with me for the time I was in her womb till the time I turned 8 years old. And honestly, this topic is definitely something that I'm going to be taking in and out because it's definitely a lot and it's definitely hard to talk about the trauma that I've been through. I know I mentioned it in other podcasts and little segments about me, but with this subject, it is literally just me telling you guys my experience and my worldview of me going through life without my mom for the past years. Like, I want to say it's been over 10 years since my mother passed away. And honestly, her absence has been louder than her presence. And I have been learning how to operate in this world without her. And it has been very hard. It is not easy. If anything, I feel like it's the hardest thing to do, especially when who I am today and the things that I'm yearning for, the things that I'm seeking for. Sometimes I feel like she's the only one that can really answer, And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about my mom. I mean, honestly, I hear so many stories about her, and a lot of times I hear that she is me and I am her. Like, I really feel like God gave me Renita 2.0. Like, I look like her. My grandmother says I talk like her. I'm shaped like her. Like, I am her. Like, my mannerisms, how nice she was, how full of love she was, how caring she was. Like, my mother was a gem. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to have the opportunity to have that experience with her. I know a lot of people don't have good relationships with their moms or than their moms at all. So I'm grateful. I think that's one thing that I hold dear to my heart, that I knew that even though she left this world, way before I feel like her time was due, I knew that she loved me. And I knew that she was a great person, just of how people hold her up to this standard to this day, And I truly appreciate that. But even with me being grateful, I definitely experienced a lot of devastation. I definitely experienced a lot of pain. And I feel like it's really the start of where my overthinking and negative thinking even comes from the first place. Because most of the times, so when I was younger, just to backtrack, I lost my mom first, and then several months later, I lost my aunt, and then several months later, I lost my grandmother. And it was all on my mother's side of the family. So we experienced a tragic loss, and we didn't have time to grieve or digest or unpack or just even process the fact that we lost all of these great people in a little span of time. And I know for me, especially being that young age, my whole life completely changed. Like, I didn't even know how to process, that mom wasn't here. I didn't even know how to process why people were even coming to watch me, family coming in and out. I'm going to all these doctors' visits, and I'm in hospitals after school. Like, that was really my reality. Like, my childhood was very rough, like, just having that reality of having to, go to school and still be a child and still process to learn and, still operate in this world, and then having to, go to the doctor to see your mom dying right in front of your eyes. And, and it just seemed like her diagnosis of cancer was so fast. Like, she got diagnosed with cancer, and I promise you, felt like a couple months later she was gone. To me, it was just like, it was so sudden. It was so fast, it was so sudden, and I couldn't even understand. Like, my mom was just buying me a Christmas present, and she was just making me grilled cheeses after she was getting off of work. Like, she was just there with me, and now all of a sudden, gone. And I'll never forget when I found out the news. Like, it was literally, my mother died September 6th, and my birthday is September 3rd, and her birthday is September 8th. So sometimes my birthday can be a lot to digest because there's a lot going on. So I'll never forget, I was sitting at the table, and it was my birthday, and everybody was saying happy birthday to me, and I could tell that people were trying to overcompensate my birthday because a lot of people knew that my mother was dying and she was in the hospital. I'll never forget, they told me, like, okay, like, we cut the cake, we sang happy birthday, and it was like, okay, let's go and pack up and let's go to you visit your mom. And with me going on the ride there, obviously it wasn't fun. If anything, I'm filled up with anxiety. I don't know what I'm walking into. And I'll never forget, they had me visit my mom and tell her what I want for my birthday. And I just remember her laying there with a little strength in her body, and she's just being a mom and just telling me, like, okay, baby, just knowing that she doesn't have even in her, but the fact that she pushed through just to give me an answer, knowing that her body is literally decomposing, like, literally she is on her last breaths. Like, she still told me and still interacted with me because she knew I needed that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the type of mother I had. And going through life without her and just not being able to find that motherly love from her, like, it is so hard. Like, I had to grow up with my stepfather. My father at the time, he did not step in. He was there, but he did not take in that role to take care of me. And I knew my stepfather for a short amount of time. Like, I knew him maybe a year, a couple or two, maybe 2 years or whatever before they had gotten married. And it was just different. Like, I feel like growing up without my mom and having to grow up around a whole bunch of different other people, I never felt comfortable. Like, yeah, I lived in my own home, but now my worldview of family is different. Now I'm inserted in everybody else's family. Now I'm having to stay here and I'm having to go here. Like, I'm being stretched all these different places because it's like, who's going to take care of Katie while her stepfather's at work? Who's going to pitch in? Who's going to take that role, that motherly role? Because when you have your mom takes on so many roles. Like, your mom does everything for you. So trying to figure out who's going to be that for me, I'm pretty sure it was like a lot of hands being placed on me, and it felt overwhelming. I didn't really know how to navigate or how, I'm just anything. I'm just surviving. I'm just doing what I'm being told. It's just constant. You just gotta do what you gotta do because mommy ain't here and grandma not here and your uncle live in Virginia, and you really don't, like, your family is gone. And that was really my reality. Just being a girl and growing up, I have a lot of emotions, and growing up with men, it was very tough. And I was growing up with a man who was in his 40s from Mississippi, okay? And if you understand that situation, then you know how weird that it can be going to somebody in their mid-40s, going to a man in their mid-40s and telling them, oh, I'm going through this, or, like, emotions wasn't being talked about because men don't talk about their emotions. So emotions wasn't being talked about. If anything, I'm being taught how to keep navigating, suppressing my emotions. I'm not being taught to express myself. I'm not being taught to say how I feel, and not putting any shame on him. It's just that this was my reality, because you got to think about it. This was the early 2000s, so we didn't have all of this self-awareness and emotional regulation. We didn't have none of that. So I know that I was put into therapy at my school because they found out, and I had a counselor who was talking to me and catching up on me every once in a full blue moon, but nothing ever really consistent. And I definitely had family members that cared about me. I wasn't like this lost puppy that didn't have nobody. But when you don't have your source, your foundation, you definitely feel lost. I feel like I've had to adapt to a lot that I didn't want to, and I feel like I had to because I had no other choice. And like I said, growing up with a man, it was very uncomfortable. Talking about my body development was very uncomfortable. I can't go to the person that I trust the most because she's not here. So who do I go to? Who do I talk to? How do I even know what's going on with my body in the first place? You know what I mean? So it's like I dealt with a lot of that. I dealt with a lot of confusion. I didn't really feel comfortable to talk to people about such and such and such. And thank God that I had aunts in my life that even though I didn't reach out to them, they reached out to me and talked to me about it. Especially when it came to me starting my menstrual. Like, it was very weird. They talk a little bit about it in school, but no one's really sitting here and telling you about hygiene and the emotions that you want to feel and how it's going to be and what it looks like, how do you take care of nobody's talking to you about that. And thank God at the time, my stepfather was dating a woman who had proper hygiene and taught me how to take care of myself, and taught me the ins and out about a menstrual. But just the whole situation in general was uncomfortable. And the only thing that I could think of was I wish my mother was here. Mother's Days felt like hell because every time I go into church, everybody standing with their mom, and and then it's like everybody looking at me with these sad eyes like, oh, let me go to Katie because she don't have her mom. Like, I don't want to feel that. If anything, all of that feeling guilty for me and all that, I don't like that. So, and maybe that also comes with just the anger of just not having my mom here or having my grandmother here so I don't even have to hear those words. You know what I mean? And it took a lot of forgiveness. I had to even learn that I had to forgive my mom because, like I said in the previous one, even though she didn't want to leave this earth and leave me here, but she did, and that is my reality. And I was angry, I was hurt, I was feeling all these types of things, and it ain't her choice, but I had to forgive. I had to figure out what life was going to be like without her, and I didn't have no guidance, And it's different. A mother's love is different. And nobody can tell me that it's not, because it is. I know how mothers treat their children, and I will never get that. People try. And I love the effort. And I'm grateful that I have people in my life that gives me and reassures me and loves me as much as they can in their capacity. But it is not the same than your mother's love. It is not. And if you have lost your mother, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, because it is a different level of care. It's a different level of concern. It's a different level how you operate. Like, a mother and a child's relationship is something that cannot be replicated. It cannot be it cannot be anything else but that, And when you lose that, love feels very weird. Like, for me, love don't feel as genuine. I felt like my whole life I had to portray as this good child to be loved. I had to do these things to feel like I was loved because I know I didn't have my mom with me, and I knew that I was putting myself in spaces that, people was already have their foundations and stuff. So when I'm coming in, I felt like I had to prove myself. I felt like I had to be something, people please for the most part. I feel like I had to people please just to receive love. And not saying that anybody told me that, but that's what it feels like sometimes. I feel like I couldn't have no flaws. I didn't have no room for error. Like, who wants to take care of a bad child? Who wants to take care of somebody that's fully flawed? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I had to be every and anything to be digestible just so I can be in a space. And when it came to that in my mindset, I took that in my adulthood life. Like, I'm still learning that I can be loved and be flawed and be me at the same time. I don't have to put my emotions to the side. I don't have to hide who I am. I don't have to play this role. I don't have to overcompensate. I don't have to give. I don't have to do all these things just to receive love. And I'm not saying that the people in my life didn't love me genuinely, but that was my worldview. So a lot of the times I'm out here people pleasing, even with my family members, just to feel love, not knowing that they probably already love me regardless. and but not hearing that and operating in that, that's what I've done in my adulthood life. And it has affected me to the core. I've become burnt out. I have become overstimulated. I have been neglecting myself, and when I talked about hyper independence, that's me. Like because I've been overstepping and overplaying just to receive some type of love that I wish that I can get. That's unfortunately not ever going to happen because the love that I'm looking for, she's not here to give it to me. So it's like, what do I do next? How do I let that go? How do I let that go? How do I move forward? How do I learn how to accept what I have now? Like, how do I become satisfied with my life now without my mother's presence? And when you don't have the blueprint, a lot of the things that I go through genetically, like a lot of negative behaviors and all that stuff like that, a lot of that stuff comes from genetics. So a lot of the times I'm probably operating in things that she operated in and overcome, but I don't have her to talk to. Even when it came to boys, how uncomfortable it is to go to your stepfather and talk about boys? It was a complete shutdown. I mean, what father wants to hear that in the first place? What man wants to hear that their daughter is sexually attracted to anything? You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of things that I had to do was just very uncomfortable, and it's hard. So a lot of the times when I'm looking for an answer of why I do what I do, or why do I feel the way I feel, or I'm looking for, a person to be like, oh yes, that I went through that too. Like, and I'm looking for my mom. She's not here. Going through school, learning how to socialize, learning how to make friends, learning how to, my interests and what I like and what I don't like. A lot of times your mother helps you, a lot of times your mother puts you in activities. She wants you to figure out what you got going on, what you can work with, what you're not working with, what's good for you, what's not. I didn't have that. I had to put myself out there. I had to do it myself. I had to figure out what I like. I had to, tell my people's, oh, can you do this or can I do that? And like just going through school without her, learning myself without her, graduating without her was one of the hardest things I had to do. I went to Virginia State University because of my mom, because she went for a year and didn't finish. It was my duty to go to Virginia State. It was my top schools, and don't get me wrong, I applied to other schools, but when I went there, it felt like home, and I felt like it was a reason why I felt like home, and I end up loving the school. But a lot of things that I do is because of my mom. Like, I want to make her proud, and sometimes when I don't even find a purpose to be here sometimes, or sometimes when it just gets too much, I remember where I was or where I used to be, and I just know I could feel her spirit in me telling me, Katie, I want you to be out here doing this. I'm not here with you, but I'm here with you spiritually. Like, come on, let's go do this together. Like, you need to go do this. All of these desires that I have, I feel like those are the things that she will want for me. And that's what keeps me going when I don't have nothing else to think about, not even myself. And, I truly believe that she's with me every step of the way. Even with this podcast, I feel like she's with me every step of the way. And it is hard, like, just knowing that when I get older, she's physically not going to be here to hold my baby. I want to be a mom, and I want to have a girl so I can live through my experience of a mother-daughter relationship, and in a healthy way, not an unhealthy way, but a healthy way. Or even if I have a boy, like, she's not going to be here to be like I'm gonna have to answer to my kids, like, they're gonna ask me, where's grandma, and where, and I'm gonna have to tell them, where is she? I'm gonna have to give them that reality so young. they're going to ask me these questions, and I'm going to have to give them an answer. And I know how it is to feel like when you don't have no grandparents, because I grew up without a grandmother, and I lost my grandfather recently. And on my father's side too, my grandmother and my grandfather both passed at a young age. So please spare me. I know everything how it feels when you're a child, and when you hear these stories about, oh, my grandparents, they spoiled me. I didn't get that. My grandfather was here, but again, distance. And he did the best he could, but it still, to me, wasn't enough. And that's just my reality. Loved him dearly, appreciate everything, but it wasn't enough, and that's okay. But just in general, like, without her, sometimes I feel lost, sometimes I feel alone. Sometimes I feel like my foundation is little to none. Like, I have my uncle, and I appreciate my uncle. He's been everything to me. And I have my godmother, my mom's best friend. She has been everything to me. And I have my aunt Norma. That was my mom's other best friend. Like, these people in my life have been a big blessing. Even my brother's mom. Like, those people in my life have really been carrying me and really pouring all their love on me and showing me that love that I know that my mother want me to have to this day. The support they give me, and my uncle, he calls me his daughter. Like, he doesn't see me as his niece. He doesn't see me as, a charity case. They see me as Katie. They love me as their own. But without my mom, I have to be real with myself that sometimes it's just not enough. Like, I wish she was here so I can vent to her and tell her about my day. I wish she was here so I can sit here and tell her how I feel. So I wish she was here so I can ask her all the questions that I want to ask her. I live through my godmother's stories about my mom because that's the only memories I have left. I have a little bit of my own, but I don't have a lot. And it's just hard. It's so hard without her. Like, even with navigating the career that I want to do, like, sometimes I get lost. Like, a lot of people think I have it all figured out, and I promise you, I cry a lot most of the times because I feel lost, and I pray about it. Me and God talk about it, and it's just hard. Like, you will hear me say it's hard because it's hard. It's not easy. And my reality, like, when I moved in my first apartment, I didn't realize that I moved closer to my mom's grave. And it's funny because when I was younger, I didn't really visit her like that because it was hard to go to her grave. And I made it, and I told her that I was going to go visit her more. But did I do it? No. So I think it was just funny how when I picked my first apartment and, the way I go to work, I pass her gravesite every single day. And I feel like that was her trying to be funny, like, oh, you gonna come see me regardless. You either gonna go past me or you gonna come visit me. And because I was stubborn, because it was still hard for me to just, take it all in. Like, oh, like every time I gotta go visit my mom at the grave, like, that's my reality. Everybody go get to sit at brunch with their mom and take them out to go see Anita Baker. But I gotta go sit and buy flowers and cry and grieve all over again, do the process all over again, just so I can go see my mother. I gotta go fuss at the people that work there to go clean her off because it's grass on it. You feel me? Like, that be my reality. And it's just like, come on now. Even though I'm glad that I live close to her grave, but it is hard that I have to spend the rest of my life, especially living here. My reality is not I get to call my mother and tell her good morning every day. I have to blow kisses to my mother's grave every day. And I do it every day because she still deserves it. No matter if she's here physically, she still deserves it. My heart still yearns for her. She is still my mom at the end of the day. And I am proud that my mom, who she was and what God called her to be, my mother was amazing. I don't have no shame in it. But it is heartbreaking that every day that I got to go on my way and start my day off with a reminder that she is not here with me. And I got to go home that way as a reminder that she's not here with me. Some people lost their moms recently that I know. And I think it's so funny, speaking of that, I think it's so funny now that, you know, and God is just amazing, because I used to complain about how I felt like nobody understood what I felt. And I would never want nobody to understand what I felt. I want everybody to have their moms physically present, because I tell you, I pray for that day when it's your day, because unfortunately everybody has their day. But I pray for you, because that day is not easy. I don't care how strained your relationship is with your mom. It is never easy, and it is never simple, and it's never just a wipe your hands clean, go about your business, depending on the type of relationship you had. But if you had a relationship like I had with my mom, oh, it's not going to be easy. Like, please go seek therapy, because I would never wish that on my worst enemy. Okay. But just losing a parent in general, I would never wish it on my worst enemy. Like, that is the worst thing that can ever happen. Like, I would never wish it. But I found myself feeling alone. I felt like not a lot of people really understood where I come from. You know, people say, I understand, but it's not, you really don't, you know. And he has gifted me people in my life, and unfortunately their mothers passed while me knowing them. And I felt like he was telling me, like, I've given you the tools of your grieving process. I've helped you. Like, God is telling me, I gave you the tools for your grieving process. I've been there with you every step of the way. Now I need you to be there for them. And at first I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean by that? Because I don't want to be there. If anything, it triggers me. Like, hearing, like, the people that I'm close to lost their moms, it was very triggering. It was very hard, and I'm an empath, so I took it in like I lost my own mom, you know. And it was one of them things where it's just like, bro, like, why do you keep surrounding me with people that lost their moms? But it's just like, also, Katie, this is what you asked for. And like I say, everybody has a purpose, and maybe your purpose is to also help these people as well. Like, these are your friends. And at the end of the day, you know you will want somebody like you there to help them. So I felt like God has been placing these beautiful people in my life, and unfortunately their tragic experiences have been the same as mine, and I feel like I've been having to help them along the way. And I feel like I try to do my best, but I'm also learning how to give myself space too when it becomes overwhelming for me, because it is overwhelming for me. And I'm grateful that the people that are in my life who has lost their moms love me enough that they still cater to me too. And it is a community that nobody wants to be a part of. But the fact that we have a community, the fact that we can love on each other and empathize with each other and really truly know what it feels to go through what we go through, means a lot to me. And I'm so grateful for them. And I'm so grateful that even though I was confused with God's plan, I was confused, but I'm grateful because I understand what he was trying to do in my life and in others' lives as well. Like, if I can be a blessing in any way, I try to be the best way I can be as possible. So, you know, unfortunately we have our, you know, our crew, but we stand tall and we stand strong. Okay? If anything, we the strongest out here, because we have to really navigate without our mothers. And I tell them real talk, like, even though it's been years since my mom passed, sometimes it feels like it's been only a day since she's been gone. Sometimes it feels like, you know, I have up and down emotions. Like, people think I just cry on anniversaries and Mother's Day, but I cry every day sometimes. I cry randomly sometimes. Sometimes I don't even know why I'm crying. Sometimes something can remind me of her and it triggers me and I'm upset. Sometimes my emotions can be so up and down, and sometimes I can be to the point where I just want to isolate myself and I just need a day away from everybody, because that's how hard it is to be in this world without my mom. And if you anything like me, I got my mom tatted on me. I got my grandmother tatted on me because I love them down. You feel me? If anything, I just look at pictures and I'm so grateful that people send me pictures of her, because I'm just like, wow, she was so beautiful. And I just really try to feel her in all types of ways, you know. And I know spiritually she's still there, thriving, looking out for me, probably like, this girl is crazy as I know what. And she probably like, girl, you just like your mother. And a lot of people say that she would be proud of me. And I don't doubt it. But sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. And sometimes I feel like, a lot of it is because I wish she was here with me so I could feel like I'm doing more. Like, I feel like she would be telling me all these things, and I'm just like, she probably be doing the exact same thing that she would want you to do. And I'm glad that I have people in my life that reassure me that I'm doing great. I have people in my life that, mentor me, guide me. I'm grateful that I'm not lost. I'm grateful that I'm actually loved, you know. Like, my mom loved dearly, and the people that she held dear to her heart, shout out to y'all because y'all have showed out for me. And I'm going to call the names because I love y'all. And my Uncle Ronnie, my godmother, my Aunt Norma, my Aunt Yvette, my brother's mom, Naima, all of you guys, guys have been my Fab Five. And I love y'all so dearly. And I'm just so grateful, And just to piggyback off earlier what I said with my negative thought process and my overthinking process, I feel like a lot of that comes from, like I said, just the trauma that I experienced so much at an early age. Like, I feel like I prepared myself for tragedy because when I wasn't prepared, I didn't like the spiralness and I didn't like the uncontrol that I didn't have. So I feel like now my brain does that so it feels like a sense of control. And it honestly hurts me to the core because it doesn't do any good. It actually damages me, and it actually makes me overthink things and think things that are not going to happen, or make me feel like, I have to live in anxiety on edge all the time because I just don't know what's going to happen. And just being in therapy and working through that has been definitely helping me with my thought process, and knowing that I don't have to do that to myself, and knowing that I can feel safe. Like, I deserve to feel safe. I deserve to feel secure. I deserve to not live in anxiety. I deserve to live life and not live in fear. And just strengthening my relationship with God as well. Like, has a lot to do with me dealing and grieving with the death of my mom and my grandmother at such a young age. And even if you didn't lose them at a young age, even if you lost them at the age of 50, or, it doesn't matter. It's still a great loss, and it is something that we all have to unfortunately experience one day. And it's not easy. It's not something that is digestible. It's not something that you can ever prepare yourself for. It's one of the things, probably the hardest things you ever do in your life. But if you have your parents now, please appreciate them. If you have your mom and your dad, please appreciate them. Please. I know they probably get on your nerves, and I probably know they on your neck so bad. But I know I wish I had my mother here on my neck. I wish I had her here, being annoying. I wish I could experience a mother-daughter argument. Like, because those things you're going to have as memories one day. And those things are something that, you're going to have to cherish. And when you don't have it, you don't have it. And that's one of them things that is permanent. You can fix an argument, you can fix the irritation, you can fix the situation between you and your mother, or your father, but you cannot fix when they are gone. So don't be those people that gotta live in regret for the rest of their lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have to heal that relationship with your mom, and sometimes people have moms that actually did more damage than they did good. They probably put more trauma on you than words can ever know. And I empathize with you very much, and I just pray for your healing process as well. But even if you can't go to her and ask her for a conversation in order for you guys to heal, just try to work that process with yourself. You were deserving of a good, loving mother. And if your mother neglected you, or she treated you any type of way, or she put men before you, or whoever before you, or she has made you feel inferior to her, all the things that sometimes, toxic parenting does, toxic mothers do. Just again, like I said previous in the last episode, just work on it. You deserve that. I pray that you're able to find a mentor. Like, no, I feel like, again, I'm going to keep saying it. Nobody should have to operate in this world alone. And if you have community, and if you have somebody that is like a parent figure to you, then, you know, dive into that. Like, because sometimes I try not to focus so much on the pain, because I have to dive into what the things that I do have. Like, I have great people that are parental figures in my life. I have a community. I have love. You know what I mean? So it's like, even though I acknowledge my pain, even though I acknowledge the things that I've been through, and sometimes I sit in it because I have to, you know, but what I don't let it do is make me. Like, I'm not going to live as this bitter person, like, make excuse of why I can't do the things that I need to do in this world because my mom's gone. Like, no. If anything, my mother would be pissed at me, because it's like, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm gone physically, but I'm still here spiritually, and I'm still telling you, and me and God are still telling you every day to get up. Like, you still have breath in your body. How dare you go out in this world and act like you don't have nothing or nobody? You know what I mean? Like, you need to go and do better than me. Keep keep your generation alive. Just keep it alive. Keep going. Don't let, your adversities make you. Like, one thing my mother was, she wasn't no quitter. If anything, she found any and everything to do to be successful. Like, my mother didn't come from a lot. She grew up from Portsmouth, Virginia. Okay? And she didn't grow up with a lot, but she made something out of nothing. She bought her own home. She loved me. She took care of me. She was in real estate. Like, my mother was out here doing it. And if anything, she beat her odds with the stuff that she had in her life. So I have to do the same. And I got to do it 10 times more now. And she's literally the battery in my back, pushing me every single day. And sometimes I feel like that's how we got to look at it sometimes. Like, yes, grieve, but don't let death stop you. Don't let you, in that phrase of being a motherless child, stop you from being the best that you can be. Like, I know my mother wouldn't want me to live in misery. So I got to do what I got to do. I got to find happiness. I got to be successful. Like, those things are important. So it's like, even though, I am a motherless child, I am still a loved child because I'm loved by God. And if anything, God fulfills all the needs that I met in my life. And I continuously go to him as a source when I have any problem, when I feel like the holes in my life are leaking. Like, I thought they was filled, but they're leaking. So now I got to go back. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is an ongoing cycle. Your healing is an ongoing cycle. So please don't think that the work stops like as soon as you think it stops. The work is still to be done. I still have work to do. And grieving is not something that just stops. You're going to, and don't feel bad for being happy. You deserve happiness too. Just because your mother's not here physically doesn't mean that you don't deserve happiness. You got to live your life. You only granted one. And for all I'm trying to say is that my story and how I came to be and who I came to be, a lot of it's I'm the blueprint of my mother, and I'm so grateful for who she was, because she was amazing. And I just pray that I'm just as amazing as her one day. And being a motherless child is definitely hard, but we get through it. And shout out to you if you are just like me. And even if your situation is not like mine, but you're going through this world without your mom, shout out to you too. Because that's hard, knowing that your mom is physically here and she's still deciding not to be there for you. That's totally hard to deal with. But we doing it, y'all. And I'm glad that I'm able to, come on this platform and just be vulnerable with you guys and talk to y'all about my experience. And I'm just grateful that you guys entrusted me in telling me about the things that you guys are going through. And if you have lost your mom, I would just love to hear your experience and see where you at mentally. You can comment below. If you have my number, if you know me personally, you can please tell me. I would love to hear. And just know you are not alone. And can't wait for you guys to tune in for episode 5.